Because you were early, I didn't record that part. Is that okay, Christian?
That's okay.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, nice and early. No, according to my notes right here, this is week 7. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, with the remediate class, it would balance it
Oh,
to week 8.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So I'm just going to do this 7, 8. That's right. All right, so how's it going, Mark?
It's going okay.
You want to show me what you're working on?
Yeah. So for mine, I got all of like my effects in there, but I still need to add like color to it. So I'm planning to do that like on
Yeah,
Friday.
right. Don't wait too long. Yeah, go ahead and show it to me. And I'm going to do a little demo on painting today. You got your fire working back there. Go ahead and let it loop.
I'm still working on the tie down for the shadow of the like smoke.
Right. So a couple of things. And just like Christian, you're very early, so I'm going to make you redo this again. All right, so I'm worried about a couple of things. One is that, I mean, it's not the most egregious thing, but there's like a little outside curve of smoke right here that just kind of goes away. I'll make sure you follow that really carefully.
Okay.
It looks like you start out here with some really great negative shapes, and then it just kind of it morphs into this stuff. So just be careful of that one too. All right, and then we're going to talk about how to manipulate this fire just a little bit better today. I think that you need some lightning in there, right? Oh, you do. Yeah, but you know what? Don't do it like a little fork. Have it actually come over here and like hit the volcano. So do it this way. And then maybe have another one come over here where it just kind of branches out and comes back down. Because right now, that the little fork thing isn't quite working. These fork things aren't quite, they're not quite not working.
Okay.
All right, the composition looks great. The use of perspective is going to save you every time. What I would recommend is going in and making this fire smaller and maybe making this one a little bigger, and I'll show you how to redo that one again. So you got water splashing. Yeah, this is pretty good here. And Mark, you are animation, so this is good here. What I would recommend for you, and I'm worried about this stuff here. Like it looks like you just stopped on these lava projectile areas here.
Oh, they should.
So
like,
what I would recommend, and is that this stuff here?
yeah.
So yeah, I would delete all this stuff here. But what I would recommend is to get all of this, everything in your timeline working for whatever it is, 150 frames, right? You get everything working. The smoke is working, the lightning is working, the fire, the small, the projectiles, everything. You get everything working just on that level. The bubbles are working, all of that's working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go down and because you're at or around 150 here, take your take each one of these things and make sure that this is all final, right? These are all final ink and paint, right? And your animation, so you should be able to understand this implicitly. As soon as you're done, take everything in this timeline and copy it, and then go to a blank frame here and then paste it again, so that now you'll have 300 frames. Okay? And I'm recording this, so you don't have to write it down. And then take this lava and slow it down. Because right now your lava is moving way too fast. And so if you copy everything 2 times out here, then you can slow this down by half without really doing any kind of work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that would be my recommendations. Everything else looks good. The composition looks good. Hi, Farah. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Show off. Well, all of us are miserable. Does anyone live in the Bay Area?
I do.
Did you hear that wind last night? That was like the strangest thing.
Yeah, like hurricane level winds. That's why that power outage was happening.
Right, but
I was
it's not
wondering
like the
about-
winds were persistent. Christian, where do you live? Christian, I can see you sitting there looking at me.
I'm actually at the dorms in San Francisco. I didn't hear anything, and I was on duty for RA stuff.
Well,
so.
what is the orientation of your window? Are you facing the east? Because that was the weird thing. The winds were like coming from the east instead of the west. But the weird thing, but the weird thing was is that they would just go, and then they would stop. And then 5-10 minutes later, they would go. It sounded like people were walking in my house. I was like, this is totally weird.
It was a bit more constant for me last night, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was something along that line.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything at all.
That's because you were completely drunk.
I wish, actually.
Yeah. So Christian, I replied to your email like right away. Christian.
I'll check.
I replied to your email right away. What time do you want on Wednesday morning?
I mean, I can do like the ones that were already posted, like 9 to probably 10 to 11.
10 to 11. Okay. So I'll put a reminder out there. I actually wrote it in pen. That Kristen is requesting an additional hour for the makeup class. And my email this morning was specific. I said, we're just going to start class a little early for the next couple weeks. That'll cover most of it. And then Christian wants 10 to 11 on this coming Wednesday morning, which is the 28th, which would be fine. And so what I'll do is I'll set up the Zoom meeting, and then I'll invite everyone. And then on top of that, I could probably still do one more, and then we're covered. Again, it's very weird to have the first day of class be missing. Hate that. Thanks, see you here, everybody. All right, did anybody get a chance to see Over the Moon? Glenn Keane's movie?
Yes.
You did see it? What'd you think about it?
The animation is super nice. The modeling design, everything is awesome. I think the script was, or the story was a little bit
Hokey.
weird. Yeah,
I was thinking hokey.
yeah.
And you know what I mean by that, right? Have you ever heard that word? It's like almost verging on the ridiculous. But I want you to keep in mind that, and I kept thinking about that idea about it being hokey almost the whole time I was watching it yesterday. Farah, have you watched it, Farah, yet?
No, I haven't. Where can I watch it?
Netflix. I think it's
Oh.
Netflix. It's
Oh,
Netflix.
I don't have Netflix.
Why not? You're missing
I just-
out, man.
Yeah, my family just never got it. So
Yeah, you got to get it. Let your friend invite you in. No, I
I have to ask.
I have all of them. I have like Netflix, HBO, whatever the other ones are, because my kids just invited me into their accounts. I even have Disney Plus. The one I don't have is Apple Plus. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is joining for a 30-day free trial so that I can watch Wolf Walkers in December when it actually hits Apple Plus for G Kids, and then cancel it right away. No, what I was thinking is that the movie's made for young girls. Think about it. You saw the movie the other day. Its target audience is 7 to 14-year-old girls.
The thing is, like, like Frozen and stuff are also targeted towards that.
Yes. Yes.
But they did it better. I don't know how to explain.
No, I think the one thing is, like, if I was going to write like a professional review, I would say that it certainly wasn't completely predictable. I would say that you couldn't just second guess what the next shot was going to be. I thought it was interesting that Changi, right? That's the name of the. She's not really a villain. She's more of a protagonist god, but her name is Change. I thought that was interesting, but you never really see it until the end. I thought that there were some parts that were really great. The idea of her bunny, in the last sequence, I was like, wait, that's like, and as soon as that happened, it's like, oh, character arc, right? Did you feel that? It's like, oh, that was complete character growth right there, and you very rarely see that in movies that are targeted for young audience. So that was very nice. Very.
Yeah, I really like the premise of like dealing with loss and things like that.
Yes.
And that's never
Yeah.
really shown in a children's
Absolutely.
animation.
I think I could have done without all the pink and the lime green and the yellow. Like, oh my God. But it
A lot of saturated colors.
Yeah, super fluorescent colors. I'm pretty sure that if I could get over that, if I'm thinking to myself as a 10-year-old girl, that might be like, I'm going to watch this movie 5 times. I'm not just going to watch it once. It's on Netflix. I'm going to watch it 5 times. The other thing I was thinking about is that it was very heavily steeped in Chinese mythology. Like, there were things that were happening that I had never seen or understood before. And it's like, uh-oh, every single person in China is going to watch this movie. And that's 6 billion people. You know what I mean? It's like, it's probably not going to have a big, huge American audience, but it's certainly going to do really well in China. Pearl is just going to advertise it, and every single person in China and India, Japan, all Asian countries are going to love this movie. It's got a great ending. I like that. The character designs are great. There was a couple of weird things in the beginning. A couple of the very, very first 3D animation shots seemed like they weren't blocked in correctly. And I don't know why. I'm gonna have to watch it again later.
Which shot are you referencing?
It was right before the 2D sequence where it looked like Glenn Keane was actually drawing for the silk scarf that she wore, that mom wore. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's Glenn Keane just showing off. And then he did it again,
Yeah.
like 15 minutes later. It's like, okay, that was for me. That was for you. That was for the animators. That was really good. And there are like 4 or 5 shots in a row where they go into a new sequence where you have no idea what's going to happen. It's like it's not that there are 4 places, at least 4 places, where the next few shots are very unpredictable, and that to me is like someone's trying really hard to get their storytelling working. So I enjoyed it. I went on Rotten Tomatoes. It's making a 77 on the critics side, and then it's making an 87 on the fan side. And as of yesterday, I mean, it only came out on Friday, and as of yesterday, there were 6,000 fan reviews and a couple hundred professional reviews. And then I had to wait 20 minutes before I watched another episode of Samurai Jack. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, my plan for today, let me read from my notes so I'm careful about this, is I am going to go back into my, because this is early, right? Because you're all here early. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into my Fire, and I'm gonna go another 2 or 3 levels of detail on the Fire about cleaning it up and painting it and then copying and pasting it, right? Making sure that it's tested for time. There is an odd thing sometimes in animation when you go from your core pencil line to filling it in with ink and paint, that it looks a little different. It doesn't move the same. It's just a thing that us animators always have to deal with. And then putting it into different layers and copying and pasting it. And then at that point, it'll be right about 1:30. The rest of you should be here, and I will ask you to do presentations on your volcano. Once again, remember what I have done is extended the final deadline for the volcano into Friday, so that I can look at what you've got today. I can deliver a fair midterm grade based on what you have and what I think that you'll be able to pull off by Friday. I'll just kind of guess how good it's going to be by Friday. And so that's my plan. So what I'm going to do here, all right, so this is where we left off on the Fire last week. Right now, what I've got, and let me count, we are on, I got everything open here, but I have the Fire keys that I had drawn down here, which was my rough. And then remember last week what I had done or Friday was talked about putting this tie down layer on it. And what ended up happening was that the first few drawings in this tie down layer were actually clean, but it gets a little bit sloppy because I can see that there's some funky shapes in there as the clip goes along. and then at speed for a 16 frame fire cycle. You know, it's moving pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my rough. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this fire keys _R for rough. And it looked like it didn't accept that. That was strange. Let me _R for rough. All right. And then, you know, in order to be consistent, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rename the tie down layer in the same way, fire keys _TD for tie down. And then with this layer selected, I'm going to put a new drawing on top of it. And this one's going to be fire keys. And then I'll just put cleanup, CU for cleanup. I'm going to add and close. So as this happens here, this should be very easy. This cleanup should be the easiest thing. Once again, what I'm going to do is pick a fire. I don't see any good fire. So I'm going to make a new fire color. Computer seems a little laggy today. All right, so I'm going to give it some sort of deep red color there. And I'm thinking about copy or the frame before and the frame after. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this one blue. It goes from green into red. So I'm going to make it blue and then change this. So this is going to be fire cleanup. So it's going to be weird that I'm cleaning up the blue fire, but that's okay. All right, so what I'm going to do with my pencil tool is I'm just going to copy this paint to line here, command copy this, and then the same thing that we did here is just paste it. Now I'm going to just do this one manually. I'm actually moving it with my mouse instead of using the keyboard to navigate. And then remember, you got to get this last frame here. So just hit plus on the keyboard. All right, so now I can just use my G key to go to the next keyframe. All right, so a couple of things for you to think about. When I draw with a pencil line and I use this direct select tool, you will see that I've got 5 or 6 points right along the center line of that line. But if I use a brush tool, oops, I've got the wrong brush. My computer's being really laggy right now. So I'm going to pick a 5 pixel brush. I'm going to bring Toon Boom back over here. You will see, oh yeah, my computer's being really laggy. I'm going to turn off Photoshop. I'm going to turn off InDesign. It should be okay now. All right, so if I use the brush and the direct select tool, you can see that now I've got points all over the place. Now you can see I've got like points on the outside and on the inside of the line. All right, so someone joined here, but I can't see them. So bear with me for just a moment. Christy showed up. All right, so these are important things to think about here, because with this direct select tool, this is a vector based. So you can move these around. You can actually spend time here creating really wonderful curves, as opposed to just a single stroke line. So let us pick the brush, and we can always go back in and make those adjustments. I'm going to get rid of this. And I don't remember where those were. All right, so, and then remember the other thing here is that your hand, I'm right-handed, and so my hand has a natural affinity for drawing a circle to me. So I draw from the away point to me, just like this. As opposed to away. Now you can get the away line working with practice, but drawing this one is just a little more tricky. I'm sorry. The hardest thing is to draw this kind of line if you're right-handed. And that takes a lot of practice. This one is hard. This one is really hard to get it very close. One thing that you want to avoid is this little hook right here. It's just the idea that you're drawing with a nylon tip on your Wacom pen, and you've got a polycarbonate surface, so it's very slippery. And so this is me just not warmed up yet, because you should be able to pull off a thin to thick to thin again kind of line. Just like it was if you were drawing with pencil. All right, and then your Option and your Command key will allow you to rotate your screen to get the attack on this for every single one of these lines. Just like hover your fingers above this and just go, right? Because then I'm going to want to draw this one just like that. And remember, it rotates around the center point. Once you've got this locked in, you'll be able to do this very fast and very cleanly. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to be able to get it to the point where now you're doing a cleanup on this, and you can put your music on, you're not really thinking about it. You can zoom in close enough here to make sure that the points are overlapping so that they're very paintable. All right, so once again, I'm just gonna roll through this. And that might look like it's a big, and you know what? This is really, really laggy. It's almost too, I've turned off everything that's, I'm gonna pause here for just a second. All right, so the other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to copy, and I haven't done this in a while with the new version of Harmony. So let's see how this works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that fire layer into a new, brand new project. All right, so I want all three of these fire layers. Shift select, Shift select. I'm going to copy these. And like I said, sometimes this works. Sometimes this doesn't work. We're going to try it today. Because the other problem might be is that remember that I told you when we first started working with Harmony that you should never, ever, 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 ever mess with stuff inside that folder. Well, I've been working with this volcano file for a while, and I'm suspecting that there might be some little gnomes in there. So I'm just going to call this fire. We're going to create, and remember that that should be shot. It should not be seen. That should be a new shot. All right, and let's see how this works down here. If it kept it. No, it didn't keep things in my clipboard. All right. The other thing would be is to restart my computer. But that's might take a little bit longer. All right, let's see if I can get through this cleanly. Brush, layer, fire cleanup, keys, drawing number 1, brush, color is the wrong color. Yeah, it's still lagging. All right, so right about here is a time when you kind of start looking at that thing that I was mentioning about, see that little half moon shape. You got another one here, and I can see that there's almost like a big one right here. So right now I'm gonna break this up. I'm gonna change this.
You're not
to-
currently screen sharing.
I'm not screen sharing right now. Well, how can you see what I'm doing if I'm not screen sharing? All right, so remember what we had talked about was that repetitive half moon shape right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up. I'm going to start here, and this is really strange with the lag. And then I'm going to break it up. All right, so that helps a little bit. The other thing that I'm going to do is try to break up this outside curve here as well. And then I'll just remember this. My hands will have to remember that I broke up that little shape right there. And I might even go to the next frame when I'm doing it and break it up even further so that we're not getting into any aesthetic trouble. The aesthetic police will show up my front door. That's a big lag. Oh my God. Stop it. So that little crossover there is not good. So there's a couple of things that you can do, and let's just, I'm not going to be able to do all 8 of these drawings at the moment. So let me just get through this one so that I can show you a couple of finer details here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this, and we're going to go back to the direct select tool, which I believe is Alt Q on the keyboard. I'm just going to touch this. So you can see that it's giving me points right there. And as I'm touching these points, you can just grab these and put them on top of the one underneath it. I mean, that is one thing. Remember that when you start doing this, you're going to get a somewhat of a wobbly, but this looks like a drawing. And so you want to really kind of get in there and fix these points, which it gives. And remember, when you're using the brush, there's a little bit more variety. You can use more variety in there as opposed to the pencil. All right, so let me finish these little lines right here. All of a sudden, it's working. Shift M to get out of the rotation tool, but then you got to remember that you were zoomed in pretty close on this. All right, so this is sloppy right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna think about coming from this point, doing an inside curve and keeping it one shape. All right, so then I'm gonna, and again, when I'm doing this, I'm just thinking about all the subsequent frames that are next to it. And I'm gonna at least have my onion skin on for at least the drawing before, so that so I knew I had made that correction, like right there. I want like a shape like that right there. All right, so this should be fine. This should paint just fine. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna test it. I'm gonna test it with the fire color, and then I'm gonna delete it because I'm gonna Command Z, because you wanna clean the whole thing up first before you paint it, because then you'll never be able to use your onion skin. Until they make that part of the program an option. So remember that just hitting the Alt U for paint isn't enough. You have to pick the paint. So I'm just gonna go like that, perfect. I'm gonna go like this, perfect, right? So what I mean by that is that there were no little places in the corners where the vector wasn't there. So if I paint this and I zoom in on it, you know, I can see some places right here that I need to fix. Like these should be sharp points right here, right? Everyone, because it's fire. And so, but it's paintable. So I'm going to Command Z it so I know when I come back to it and I can paint it in one pass. All right, so another way to fix these little bits right here is to use your eraser tool. Now on my pen, I have the eraser on the back side. And let me just go to the eraser settings. So my eraser setting is 30 pixels. I'm going to take this down to like 12. Let's see how that goes. So now I can use the front end, and I test it over here. So in order to make this a sharp point, so now it's lagging again. So that is an option. As long as it was working cleanly, you can make things sharp within your vectors with your erasing tool. And again, it's lagging. All right, so I want to show you one more thing. Fighting with this program right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I did this the other day, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick the paint tool, which again is Alt U. I lied. Alt I. Alt I is the paintbrush tool. And I'm just going to hit paint, because I'm going to pick this gradient, and I'm going to paint just once. So we did this last time, but now that it's painted this whole way, this is great, because when I want to hit this edit gradient tool and I touch it, now you can see that it's going to be much more workable. You can really get the reds on the bottom and the yellow to the top. See what I mean? So that didn't work out quite like it did last week. Alt I is your paintbrush. Alt I. I'm going to paint these parts. And I'm going to go, oh, see, now there's chasing a vector right there. I would have hoped that, so watch what happens. So I got to paint this twice. And I'm not quite sure about that, because then I'm going to have these two different gradients in there. What I might want to do is see if I can fix this point right here just a little bit, and then paint it again and see if I can get it to paint the whole thing. Sometimes it'll paint the whole thing if you stroke it like that. See what I did? Let me show you one more time. So if I touch it, it'll paint part, and that's called chasing a vector. If I paint over here, it stops right there. But if I cross over, it paints the whole thing. That's what I want. So then with my edit gradient tool, I can just touch this, and I can rotate. And it might look a little funny that this breakaway fire piece here is a little bit red. So you can move the whole thing down a little bit so that it just stays more yellow. So that's a nice little edit tool. Same thing with this one. So, and you can expand this out and just make it all yellow, which is nice. So you don't have to paint it a different color. It's all painted the same color. All right, so that worked out nice. My Toon Boom was a little laggy, but that worked out nice. And that's looking like a pretty good fire with that fix right there too. Then making sure that a sharp point, you're just going key to key to key, and you get the G key. Move that vector point up with your direct select tool, go to the next key, and just fix everything straight across your timeline of the fire. Just to reiterate, remember that once you get the fire done, you can copy and paste it wherever you want. Copy and pasting it to a new layer, copying and pasting it and repositioning all drawings, like I showed you with that's underneath the direct select tool. So you just hold the direct select tool down, and there's a reposition all drawings underneath there, and you can squish it, and you can elongate it. You can copy and paste and put multiple versions of the fire in different places. Just remember that it's got to look good first before you start doing that. And then the other thing, let me see if I can explain this one.
I had a super quick question.
Sure,
How did you get to the tool to actually rotate the gradient itself?
Oh yeah, sure. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, I didn't lose my Zoom class, did I? You're still there, okay.
No.
So when I paint this, again, I paint it with the paint bucket tool, and the paint bucket tool has got like 5 or 6 other, 7 other tools underneath there. So I just paint regular paint. And I'm telling you right now that sometimes it doesn't work. When you're using Toon Boom, sometimes you have to paint, repaint, because it thinks it's already painted. It can be really buggy for some reason. Sometimes I had to go through a whole sequence and unpaint everything, even though it wasn't painted, and then it would allow me to paint it. So after it's painted, you hit the contour editor or the direct select tool, hold it down, and go to the edit gradient texture, and then you can just touch and click, and then the center point allows you to move, right? And then this allows you to rotate. And Toon Boom's being really laggy. And then this one allows you to expand the range of the input on the gradient. So if you wanted to make this one just yellow, just move it down like that. And the nice thing is that it continues to fill the whole thing in with yellow, as opposed to leaving it blank up there, right?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we're just waiting for Paul. All right, so perfect. At this point, what I'd like to do is, okay. My suggestions would be the following. Starting from the top, try to make one of these bubbles smaller and the other bigger, because they're twinning, and in animation, you don't want to twin. There's a thing in animation where you don't want to twin, even to the point of when they get up into here, let this one be small and let this one become even bigger. I think it'll be a better contrast. I can see the pulsing that's happening down your lava, and I think that that's okay. But I think that what you need to do is this little red piece goes to there, but you miss this whole area. You've got to like get that little red piece to go all the way down. When you get to here, let's make this more of like a lava pit. Let's just give this a better look.
Okay.
You can give this a little ridge here, something like that, but just that soft little edge right there isn't enough for a convincing lava pool. Something like that is going to be a more ominous, more dangerous, more lava looking. Let's get a whole bunch more projectiles here. And for everyone, this is like the easiest thing to do these. So you've got a lot of area, just get a whole bunch of these things coming out. Just use the same layer. You don't need to put them on their own layer. And remember that the timing is actually really easy. And any given arc, you just draw the arc out.
Are these are the projectiles going too slow to you? Or
No,
too
I think they're
fast,
okay.
or-
There's just not enough of them.
Okay.
No, they're okay. So remember that the general timing is that they go fast and then it starts to slow down when it gets to the top of the arc. That's the principle of animation called easing in. It's an EI. So it comes to a vertical stop at the top of the arc, and then it eases out of that position and it starts to move faster. And so just use that relative timing. Fast, slow, fast, and just draw a bunch more of those. I think that you could use some better outside shapes. You know, I think you've got some of them in there, but see if you can get some more interesting variety in these outside shapes of the smoke itself.
Oh,
Paint
yeah.
this one different. Right now, the gray and the purple are interfering with each other. So paint this one more white or a lighter color.
Mhm.
And then if you can, in your timeline, slow it down. So make this one really slow. So it's got this really nice little wispy thing to it. Slow it down. So that means if you like this, if you like the timing of everything else, right? Then when this is all finished, and hopefully it's not on too many level, you call them comments?
Oh yeah, I guess that's what I named them.
Yeah, they're, okay, they're comments. And the lava is okay, and the smoke is okay. Then copy everything in the timeline. So right now you got 128 frames. So go out to 156, open this all the way up, and copy and paste every single thing, and then slow this smoke down by half. So if
Okay.
that smoke is on 8s, make it on 16s. You don't have anything going on in this foreground right here. You're gonna put some fire right here?
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to put something up there because especially in this front right, it just looks pretty empty.
Well, don't make it obvious.
Mhm.
I mean, don't make it like hokey,
Yeah.
you know? What my recommendation might be is to get another set of mountain ranges in the background here. I think that these clouds could use a little work. I also think that you can track these clouds. Remember how we showed you how to do that in Toon Boom? You just draw one in its own layer, and then you just move it. You set the keyframe and you move it.
Mhm.
Right? Do you want me to show you how to do that again?
I think I remember how to do it.
All right, but then I think that cover this over here. So bring this mountain range and this one over, and then let this kind of die off, right? And then that gives you more of a stage to play with. You know, maybe there is a broken down tree right here, and it's got blown over by the initial blast, and that's the thing that's on fire. All right.
One other question I had Is this specific lightning here too long? Because I noticed this one is 4 frames in total, and then I had this one at 5, and I'm not sure if it feels like it drags on a little too long.
I think it's okay. It's
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of different variety of lightnings in there, and that one's not too bad. It's okay.
Okay.
The problem is that for some reason there's a great big cartoon version of me in your layout, and it's kind of weird. You sure you want that?
He could stay.
You put a giant picture of your teacher in your midterm, kind of cringe, bro.
I love the way you draw yourself. It's like a very it's like reminiscent of like Spy vs. Spy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did this one thing where I was trying to see how simple I could get my I don't know what happened to my how simple I could get my
Your likeness.
like really, really, really simple. Yeah, I think you might need to have me on fire in your. What do you think, Jess?
I'll be sure to add that.
All right, it'll be a good portfolio piece.
Nothing says passing grade like intimidation tactics.
I once had a entire class. Well, the class was a studio class, so there were 4 teams of 5, and one of the class they're supposed to animate a short cartoon for that class, and it was a quarter class, 10 weeks, 11 weeks long, and the students hid the story idea from me the entire quarter. They did the storyboards and the character designs for what they thought was the story, and they even did like fake animation for the story that they wanted me to think they were working on. And as it turns out, the cartoon was about me being a waiter, and I served this guy a fish, and the fish jumped away, and then I had to go get on my scooter and chase after this fish. And it was brilliant. They thought I was going to be mad, but I was like, I was touched. It was really great.
Hey, that's cool.
Thanks, Jesse. I love the way they hid it from me.
Thank you.
All right, where are we now? We are, Kristen, did you show yet?
Not to the group yet.
Go ahead, show. All right. All right, so really quickly then, what I had recommended to Christian was just a couple of the following things. And by now, I mean, you can really all just kind of start to guess what I was going to say. Is that they got the formation of your smoke working. Make sure that you're going to give yourself some nice variety of shapes here. You know, small, medium, inside shapes. Make sure that it's working pretty well. But I think that this mountain here needs to be trimmed. So give it some sort of cant like this in the foreground. It's at this point where you can do the, I always forget what these things are, the projectiles coming out of the mountain. The other option would be is to make this a pool. You know, bring it down and make it a pool, and you could do a water splash and some bubbles here. And I had recommended him to just do lightning over here and lightning over here, and his lightning was too busy. And then to swap out this blue to orange gradient background, and then do the white, black, white frame in the black in the background when the lightning is happening. And you could just keep the lightning simple. I think that's pretty much what I had mentioned earlier. Did I miss anything, Christian?
Not that I can think of.
But I think that you've got a very big focal point right here, and you haven't done anything with it yet. So, and you have to, by the laws of art.
Yeah.
You have to. All right, thanks, Christian.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep going here. Farah. Oh, did you already presented?
Yeah, I already presented.
Sorry. Javon. I know you're hiding in the
I
back right
just
there,
realized,
Javon.
is Harmony even on the right thing?
Javon.
It's not.
Javon. Javon. All right, let's go to Jack.
Okay, cool. I just pulled up my midterm anyways. Except that's not my midterm. What the heck? Hang on. Sorry. I had another animation for another thing up, and I thought I pulled up my midterm, and I apparently pulled up the wrong thing.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. As a student, you're supposed to deliver the wrong file for your midterm.
Oh yeah, absolutely, all the time.
It's in the student handbook.
Yeah, no, right? Okay, here we go. It's starting up, so you can.
You're going to have to share your screen with us.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the screen. It's on. You know what? I will just pick a. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's right here. All right, there we go. Can you see it?
There we go. Okay, I have some notes for you. I think you've got your smoke under control. I think you've got the lava under control. For these bubbles,
I still have. I just realized I never updated like the landing areas for that when it pops.
yeah, but remember we talked about last week the idea that would help this is to delete a couple of them and make a couple of them bigger.
Right.
These are supposed to be splashes, so give me one that's just like obvious so I know you know how to do a splash of water.
I mean, I
and
can
then-
zoom in to show that I still followed the process. It's just that I had to do it at a small scale because I figured it'd look weird
Well,
if I
I
had
know,
giant
but they're all
pools
too
of water.
small. So if you do at least one that shows that you could follow it, then that'll be
I can do
better.
it, sure.
That'll be better. All right, and then let me just check here really quickly. Yeah, your animation. So you're breaking one of the rules of animation. If you click
no.
on this button right here, click on this button, you'll see
The
that what
fires
it,
too.
what it does is it gives you, this is the action safe area. And then another field in from this is title safe. And this fire is way outside. It's way too close to title and action safe. So what I would recommend is repositioning the fire somewhere. Now don't put it, I mean, what is this thing right here? Is it a rock?
Yeah.
Well, turn it into something that could burn. Like
All
a,
right.
Yeah, just put it right there.
Voila. The magic of animate off and then moving with the camera. I love it.
All right, I'm just checking your fire. It looks like it's moving okay.
I was a little
Uh,
worried about it because it was hard to follow the instruction you gave. At least for me, it was. But I think I figured it
Well,
out.
that's recorded. It's from last
No,
Friday.
I was looking over it. I was just like,
But I think what's happening is that you've got a node here that goes to here, and then to here, and then to here, and then it disappears. You definitely need some
Need
more
to-
stuff.
need to shrink it more on the
Need some-
top.
No, you need
Oh,
to,
make it more. Okay.
yeah, you need to let it go up more, a little bit more.
Should I divide it as like, what's that on any frame but that? Should I still like further divide it as like, I don't know, this, because I remember you mentioning that the nodes were getting smaller, and like I made note of that, but I don't think I executed it like properly, or like as I was like doing it, I kind of
Well-
dropped the ball on it.
Well, quite literally what's happening is the thing that's burning is burning.
Yeah.
And that it can happen. I mean, I think I was watching an episode of Samurai Jack where there was a fire loop that looked something similar to this. It was really kind of neat. It was, it just went really high. And it was like almost like a narrow jet of a I forget what I call them now, but it was really tall fire. It was really neat. It was like that.
I was trying to avoid really tall fire because I felt like it would like interfere with the rest of the composition. Like,
Yeah, don't ever do that as an artist. Always think about the thing that you're drawing first. What I think that will work here, you know, and could you scroll over here and let me see the timing on your smoke?
here it is. Smoke.
Yeah, so you've got it on 4s right now. Put this on 8s. Slow it down. Put it on 8s.
8. Wow. Okay, even further.
Yeah, it's moving too fast. It's
Man,
moving. It's moving for a volcano. This is moving too fast, and I think your
Even a
lava-
caldera, it's like too much.
your lava can be slowed down on 4s. Put your lava's on 2s, and then this is weird. What do you mean by lava bubbles?
This is the actual bubble from it, and I actually I should rename this. This happened because of like a miss shot thing, but this is actually the lava sequence. So we'll like call it.
Yeah, slow this lava down as well.
And that.
All right, and then once you do that, I think that what you're going to find is that what'll make this really nice is that your fire is going to dissipate about right here. You might want to try just like some extra little bit of smoke loop just for the fire. And
having
just
a bit of a smoke for the fire.
just a smoke loop right here. That's just for the fire. It might be kind of fun. And use the same thing. It's like you're gonna have. Let me.
So I'll have to in between these if I want that to look nice.
Right. Yeah. So
I have
give
to do a lot of
yourself
in-between
this kind of fire. Oh, hold on.
Something disappeared at the end. What the heck was that?
So the fire is going to kind of go like this. And what I could recommend is that this could be more like just a misty kind of smoke. And again, I did these so that you could animate one node into this, into this, into this node into this, into this, into this over 8 frames. It would just be very simple. This is being recorded, so you could actually pull this, right? And just make it a very, very simple loop. And then go into Toon Boom and give this kind of a 50% transparency. And then transparency, you can give it a blur. You can give it all kinds of little nodes in there. It'll contrast the rest of the stuff that's already on your stage.
Will the smoke really be doing that though? Because like one, it kind of looks like it's coming from the other mountain thing in the back, mountain volcano thing in the background. Plus, I just kind of thought I thought smoke for fire would be like looking like this, like wider, because it's like supposed to be the width of the flame. Is that just not how fire smoke works?
Well, either one will work. It's just it was just a suggestion for you.
Okay. So this has to be slowed down to. So just a lot of adjustments.
Yeah, set adjustment. And then your final paint.
Yeah,
You have some work to do.
I apparently do.
All right. Thank you for showing. Thank you for showing. Tom. Where's Tom? Tom was here. I don't know what happened to Tom. He disappeared. So let me revisit our little volcano. Let me take this all the way out. I believe this was 88 frames cycle. And it looks like I've got some extra notes in there. I keep using this composition here for teaching purposes, which is fine. But I got a lot of layers working right here. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to reiterate. And one was about the fire and copying and pasting. And then one is tracking these little smoke guys in the background here. So let's do the smoke first, the fire first. So this is frame number 1. I'm going to zoom in on this fire right here. And you can see, like we talked about last week, that a couple of things that were innate about this particular loop is that when I went to paint this, that I've got lots of little breaks in the vector here. There's lots of little places where it's technically not painted. It's not that hard to fix. You know, you can just go over here and get your eyedropper tool and pick up this orange color, and it's going to say fire 2. You make sure you're on the fire layer. This one you're going to have to pick paint unpainted, and then you're
We
gonna have
can't
to,
see your screen if you're showing us.
sorry.
Yeah. There we go.
So I was just talking about this particular loop on the fire. This was painted with just this fire orange color, but in this there are areas where I'm chasing the vector, and you could see that one. It just painted that little corner, you know, but it's not painting this because this is an open shape. So one of the things you can do is you can go in the paint tool, you can go to this tool right here, and the options are, you know, don't close any gaps or close large gaps. The problem with picking close large gap is that when you do that, you're going to get open spaces like that. So I always try this close the small gap first. And sometimes it doesn't work. It's not working. Sometimes you have to zoom in really close. Sometimes you have to zoom out really far, you know, and then you're like questioning to yourself whether you're on the right layer or not. You know, it's like, so there's a couple of things just about painting in Toon Boom that can be really annoying. The other thing is just like I had said here, and this is a really good example. I had drawn this wispy little fire shape right here, and in my contour editor, in the direct select tool, my Toon Boom is being really funky right now. You know, it will let me pick the pencil tool that I drew this with. You can see that. But there are places where the pencil tool kind of stopped and then it jumped over to the next one in order to fill the gap. So in this one, it didn't, because those two lines are crossing over each other. In this one, it's all good. But look, it also jumped across these 2 points. And sometimes it'll do that if you're using the pencil or the brush tool, so that when I went to paint this, the paint selection areas are all over the place. So there's like, when I went to paint this, there is this gradient and this gradient and this one all by itself, and then this one and this one. And so if it's not a big aesthetic thing to you, you can kind of leave them there. But the problem would be this, is that in this fire loop, I think there's 8 drawings. I have copy and pasted this fire loop in a couple of different places, and they're blurred out here just because I'm not on that layer right now. But the minute I go into any of these and start really tweaking the position of all these gradients, it's going to affect the other ones. And it's going to affect the other ones because I copy and pasted them from the timeline, and they are technically symbols. So it's an aesthetic choice for you, but you all have to remember where you are and what you're doing. Like right now, I just pulled the center point presentation of that gradient edit so that I can see more yellow right there. And again, just like we had done before, if I open this up, I could get this whole region, this whole area to show up as yellow by just dragging it in a certain position. Now, you know, there's lots of mucking around with this, but if you get it right, what'll end up happening is that it's going to affect the aesthetic for all the other presentations of these. And again, remember that Toon Boom can be really funky. This one here, it's upside down, you know, so spend some time with this gradient editing tool and get the paint on the fire to look just right before you and copy and paste it. And so this one's upside down too. You know, and I don't think that I had taken the paint on these and intentionally screwed it up last semester when I was making these. I just hadn't gotten to it. We were still on ground and we were doing a bunch of other things. And I'm using my mouse as opposed to my stylus. And I think it's okay that I'm working with orange going into the yellow right there. And I'm also looking at all the different paint groups I have in there. All right, so what that is then, that fire right there is looping. So this one over here is the same fire. So I have a couple of different fire layouts. I have fire 3, fire 2, fire 4, and these are the ones that I just did for our demo. I believe the very first one I had done was this just fire all by itself. And if I just play the loop, you'll see that the fire's working. It's okay. Let me play that again. These little circles here were an indication of one of the ways that you can actually go about planning out the fire, which is kind of the same way you think about smoke, and using circular forms like this. I don't know why it did that, because I clicked on it. This one right here, you can animate just the circles for the smoke going upwards as smoke. And you could do the same exact thing for the fire. there's one that's in particular that's better than the others. Jesse, this is a little wispy thing I was thinking of for your secondary campfire smoke, if you want. Let me find it. It's like one of those production challenges you're given by your director, and they say, oh, well, we're doing this a game and we need a little fire animation happening as a loop. I need 12 frames. And he gives you something like this, and I'm hoping that it's cross-referencing, and I'm not quite seeing it. And we went back to the top. So let me go back to Toon Boom. There is this method, this process of working with fire that you just draw it's just like bubbles. It's just like bubbles of hot gas rising, and you can get it to work. There are a couple of different methods. All right, so having said that, I'm going to stop the playback here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to look at this. I'm going to make sure I identify the correct number of frames. So what I'm looking, and I did this before, but I'm going to do it again. What I'm looking for are these two little eye shapes right here. So that's drawing number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. So if I go back, so that means that this right here, there were 8, this is an 18 frame cycle. So there, for some silly reason, I did 9 drawings on 2s, right? So I'm just gonna take these 9 drawings right here, and I'm gonna copy these. I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna copy these cells from the timeline. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out, and you can see that I've done this demo a couple of different times, but we're gonna look at this little burning log right here. I'm gonna make a new layer. And this is where I want you to all just kind of pay a little bit more particular attention, because I'm going to do something tricky. So this is going to be Fire 5. It's going to be add and close. So I got a blank layer right here. And I'm just going to put my cursor on the very first frame, and I could hit paste, but I'm just going to I'd see that one of the things about the Magic Mouse is that it's really responsive. Right click and say, paste the cells from the timeline. Good, I've got just those 18 frames. So what you can do then is, if I started to play this, actually that fire is right on top of the fire that is already here. So if I reposition all drawings, I'm gonna get this. And now I don't know why I have all this other area over here, and that's the pivot point. So you don't want the pivot point, you want that. Did you see the difference? The difference is that I've got my directional arrow, my X and Y directional arrow, but as soon as I get to the center, that's a pivot point. I don't want to move the pivot point, I just want to move the fire. So I'm going to move the fire over here, and it's just going to put it in a new place. And at this point, I can squash it. And if I don't hit the shift key to constrain the proportions, I could do anything I want with it. That's why these look like they do. So right here, I'm going to move it up a little bit, and I can even rotate it. It's at this point where you might want to move the pivot point, although it's not letting me select the pivot point. So you could just do it manually. All right, and then if I were to play this, it's going to be in the exact same kind of time as this first fire. And it goes away. So what happens on Fire 5 then is that if I want this fire to be delayed from this fire, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to select it, shift select it, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to move it down the timeline onto, so maybe halfway through. So now you have to be careful, because you can accidentally move a layer. You can accidentally move it to a new layer, and I don't want to do that. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 drawings that are open, and I've got 88 frame loop. So I'm going to put my cursor right here at the end of it, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, wait, I want to copy these from the timeline now, because now I want this presentation of it. And remember, when we do this, what's actually happening is that we're creating a whole bunch of symbols in our library. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these from the timeline, and now I can just put the cursor here, hit paste, put the cursor here, hit Command V for paste, here for paste. And now in order to do this one, I'm going to have to open the end of the loop up just a little bit, and I'm going to hit this. Now I want these 4, and I'm going to copy these 4, and I can also, just for clarity, delete these 4, remove this back to here, to 88, I'll leave it at 90, and then put this and hit paste. Now, what happens is that filled in that gap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double check to make sure it didn't get too, it didn't, because you have to be careful if sometimes it gives you open spaces. So now what I've got is the presentation of this little fire looping on it starts and ends on a different frame. It ends halfway through it. And that's exactly what I want. So that's a nice little process for you to think about when you're doing anything that's looping. And games are made like this. Animation is made like this. You know, everything from Samurai Jack to South Park to BoJack Horseman to anything, Rick and Morty. If anything is looping like this, they're going to always just copy and paste, and they want it to loop on a start and end on a different frame. They're just going to drag it halfway through the cycle and then copy the last part of the cycle and paste it at the beginning of the cycle. Does everyone understand that?
Yep.
I can only see some of your faces here, and the other faces aren't there. So that is a very useful tool for doing all kinds of things. All right, so let's talk about this cloud right here. This cloud is just a singular drawing. That's all it is. I just drew 1 and 2 clouds, and I put them on top of each other. And then what I did is I went here and, oops, stop it, stop it, stop it. All right, so, oh my God, let me use my stylus. Actually, I can't use my stylus, because what I want to do here is I'm going to right click and I'm going to say insert keyframe, which is F6. So I think the best thing that I can do is I'm just going to copy this copy this cloud right here and redo this. I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to make a new cloud layer, and I'll show you how to do it just from, so this is just going to be C_2, add and close. I'm going to paste it. So the cloud is right there again. Now, you know, the other thing that I can do is I can show you how to do this in 2 different manners. So in this, on this keyframe right here, I'm just going to deselect this. And I'm going to select it. And I think I might be able to get the whole thing by just doing that. There we go. So I got the whole cloud. So I'm going to copy and delete that. And I'm going to put it on its cloud 2 layer. All right, so then I can move them in at different speeds. All right, so let's do this one first. This cloud is in the back. I'm going to actually move it over here just a little bit, and I'm going to key it. And a quick apology, because I haven't done this in a while, so you have to give me just a minute. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this all the way out to the end of the timeline and hit F5. Sorry, I haven't done this in a while. Just gonna take my head just a second. So I'm gonna key this. Then I'm gonna hit F5. So this presentation of the cloud is the same, it's in the same position. So I believe I use the animate this tool right here. And let's see if I did that correctly. I don't think I did that correctly. Nope, didn't do that correctly either. All right, I keep doing something wrong. All right, I have a good idea. Since I'm trying to figure this out, I'm going to give you all a second little break. So take a second little break.
It's looping.
All right, so a couple of things for you. It looks like you responded pretty well. So you have the water splash there and another thing which is working. So what you're going to end up having here is 3 different kinds of smoke, which is fine. So make it just a little smaller.
Oh.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what I would recommend.
The last time I thought he did it, I went on the bot and he didn't do it. Like he waited at the very bottom.
Are a couple of things. One, I think the perspective on your pot is kind of messed up a little bit. So fix this.
That's the table?
No, this is the cauldron.
Oh, okay.
It's a little flat right here. So fix the cauldron, fix the perspective on it. And then I think that what you want to do here is get this smoke, the steam that's rising up, give it a better look and feel to the shape that's on the outside. And the best thing to do is, because you got these nice bubbles in here, is make a couple of them really big.
Oh, okay.
But in order to make this work, make sure that you're giving maybe the exterior pencil line of this steam a darker gray,
No.
okay?
Okay.
And then paint, and then use the same color that you've got here, but make it just a bit darker too. Maybe just a bit darker. If you
Okay.
need to, you can put the bubbles in front, but make sure we can see a couple of these bubbles popping, right? Then this is kind of fun. This is kind of neat right there. I like how it dissipates. But I think that what you should do is when the blast happens, give that background just a little bit of blast, like right there.
Oh, okay.
And then what I would do is I would take this candle and I'd move it to the right focal point. So grab the candle and the smoke and the fire and put it over here. I'm just looking at my list here for a second. So yeah, move the candle down over here. And then you've got you've got it wisping out. And so this is nice. You've got, make sure that this animates correctly, because I'm not quite seeing it. It's really, let me clear my sketch. Yeah, it's really hard to see. It looks like it might be moving correctly, but make sure you paint the exterior darker so we can see it. And then the other thing that you might want to do is work on some holes that are in the middle of the steam, that they animate upwards. That might be kind of cool. But yeah, move the candle over here so that the flame, so you have more room to play with the smoke here. And then just like we were working on my sketch that I showed you, because right now you got the fire comes on and then it goes off, and then there's just a little trail. So what might be really fun here is to work on, so you see how I do that? Just
Yeah.
one line. You saw what I did, right? Now
Yeah.
watch. I'm going to draw this one right on top of it. And all of a sudden, I've got a really cool node. I'm going to animate this node into this one, into this one, and this one into this one, into that one if you need to, or whatever. This little one into that one and that one, and then it goes away. So this, and then on top of this, you can have like little spindly things, little bits of smoke that just dissipate as well. So this right here is a better look than just that little wisp that you have. I think that'll make it better. Take this table and remember your perspective. So draw me a better table, please.
Okay.
Get. You know, something more like that. And then as long as this is a room, then this should be straight across. Oh, sorry. This should be straight across. Yep. Okay, those are my notes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anything else? Did I miss anybody? Javon, are you there? Jesse, you're right above Javon. Knock on his ceiling.
I'm here.
Just knock on the ceiling. Just knock, knock like it was from the Brady Bunch. Okay, I will, this is being recorded. I will put this on YouTube and have it up in our class a little bit later in the afternoon. I will make sure that there is a place for your volcano QuickTime movies in the class if it isn't there already. Oh, and a reminder, I will be here. Key, where did you go? Key disappeared. Key had to leave. I will be scheduling an alt makeup for Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. on the 28th, 2 days from now, on the 28th, just for an hour,
Cool.
if anybody needs it.
That was actually me.
Oh, that was Christian. Okay, I thought it was Keith. All right, and then
Last time.
there you are. And then a reminder that I will still show up a week from today, an hour early, if you can make it. At least an hour early next week. Next week, Monday.
Great.
Okay, and I'll put those reminders in the class. All right, everybody. It looks like it's a sunny day out there. Go get sunburned.
Yeah, right
Go
now.
get
it's getting my
sunburned.
face
I want you
hard.
to animate sunburn. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, bye.
Thank you for the feedback.
You're welcome. You're welcome.